I didn't want Mirror Week to end without providing a build academy. I will not claim that this is the most polished of builds, but I hope that it is something fun. It is mirror pure. It is done without prize cards. In fact, the only non-retail cards come from the Prakesh booster, which, as we discussed in the review, is something that hopefully you should be able to get a hold of. Rather than me talking about all of that, let's dive in and see what's there. So we're going to kick things off with the I.S.S. Enterprise. It's a good ship on its own. Not the best of ships, but it's a good ship. The 7 durability, the 3 attack dice, it's a reasonable cost, 22 points. We throw on Captain Spock. Fantastic captain, good named ability, and of course, Hikaru's Sulu. Spock, Sulu, been talking about it a lot this week. Now we're going to put it into practice. I said the most natural fit for this combination is on the I.S.S. Enterprise, and that is simply because Sulu's target lock gives you that extra die. And now you've got all these actions, and you've got a 4th attack die. Why not? Why not make that work for you? We're going to throw in Alyssa Ogawa as a crew. The reason we put her on is to re-enable Sulu and get more out of that. Sulu is something we want to re-enable every single round, except the first round of combat. Ogawa will see a ton of use. We have the points to make her fit this time. So why not? A bonus card for us. Tantalus Field. I think one of the key things to do in any build is to have some means of disruption. Tantalus Field is going to give us that, to mess with our opponent's captain, to say, ha, gotcha. Now, it's a very limited card, but if we can pull it off, it's going to mess with them. It's going to affect the way they play. The threat of Tantalus Field is a good threat to have in our back pocket. And even if they don't have any captains that you want to get rid of, you can get rid of a crew. Seems worthwhile to me. Our second ship, Regent's Flagship. It's titled Flagship for a reason, and this is no exception. We're going to put William T. Riker from the Pasteur as the captain. And I know you're going, David, come on. Put ATP Riker. You could. You absolutely could. I'm using Pasteur Riker here because I want to keep this playable for people that don't have access to that Riker. If you do, go ahead, put him on. But if you don't, Pasteur Riker, just as good in this situation. Because you action Riker, you get the scan, and then you get a free action bar action, and that's battle stations. Perfectly good for the Regent's Flagship. You could target lock too. It's up to you. But I like battle stations. Gives you flexibility. After Riker, Admiral Worf. Yeah, we're making this an Admiral Worf build. But it's not your traditional Admiral Worf build. Still, we've got options. Options are good. Our talent, Yellow Alert. Now, a lot of people may not be familiar with Yellow Alert, so let's take a look at it. At the start of the combat phase, before any attacks are made, you can discard this card, and if you do so, you put either an evade or battle station token beside your ship, even if you already have one there. So it's a 2-point card that just says, hey, look, free token. It's definitely not a bad thing if you need to do something else. There's a lot of things on this ship that you may need to do. It's got to be a consideration. Never hurts to have more if you bump, if you have aux power thrown on you. Again, it's my catchphrase, options. Just roll with it. We've got some crew on here. Jadzia Dax, 1 extra durability, probably going to help you. Certainly doesn't hurt you. 2 points, again, we're solid. Brunt. Talked a lot about Brunt in top 10 crew. being able to disrupt your opponent, again, with that extra APT, it's a 1-point card. So Brunt was really hey, I got 1 point, I got a crew slot, I'm fitting him in. We're good there. Then the fun combo here. Julian Bashir. I want to redirect an attack. I want to say, hey, look, you got to shoot me, you got to do it with 2 less dice. But that's an action. And the Regent's Flagship has a lot of actions for anyone counting along at home. So I'm putting on Agony Booth. An Agony Booth says, crew, do it for free, discard Agony Booth. That's okay, because I'm going to discard Agony Booth and discard Bashir. You still have to shoot me, and that's fine. Yeah, that makes Bashir a 5-point combo instead of a 2-point card, but at this point, it's worth doing that just to make the action economy of this all happen. Something to think about. Alright, then, last ship in this build, the I.S.S. Defiant. Solid ship. 4 dice, 2 defense dice, 6 total durability. Beverly Crusher is our captain. Pretty simple captain, but again, we're going for defense here. She's bringing along Rebellion as a talent. Get a free attack, why not? 2 less dice. Gotta remember to use it, of course, that's been my problem. But if you do it right, you're going to survive. This ship is all about survival, about just taking that 1 less hit every single time. You make it work. Then, when you do die, you've got Tasha Yar. So, again, it's a ship of survival and bonus attacks. Not a bad thing to have going on here. Jennifer Sisko, of course, had to be in a Mirror Universe build. She's there for disruption, mess with your opponents, maybe slow their opening down. Again, a little bit of board control, a little bit of psychological advantage. You got some tricks working for you there. Aft Phaser Emitter, 1-point card, lets you shoot out your rear arc. It's 3 dice, but again, it's a 1-point card, so you don't lose much here. You top all of this off with Copilot as your resource. That brings you up to 130, and from there, you're good to go. So, build as a whole, it's kind of an amalgamation of parts. There's not a ton of synergy here, outside of Admiral Worf onto the Defiant. The problem that you're going to run into is that you don't have a lot of actions to actually trigger Admiral Worf. If you're doing everything right, the I.S.S. Enterprise needs its base action for Ogawa to re-enable Sulu, to Spock, to Sulu, to keep that whole train going. Regent's Flagship wants their action for Riker, and then Riker's bonus action has to be an action bar action. The Defiant can't actually Admiral Worf because you can't target yourself with the effect. So you're going to have to give something up, or you're going to have to rework some things. I say all of this to fully admit that there are some issues with this build. This is not something I'd run into a tournament at this point. That's why I'm calling this build Academy. But this is a framework for a pure mirror build that says, hey, here's some good ideas. Here's cards that work well together. The I.S.S. Enterprise side of this is solid. The Defiant side of it is fairly solid. The Regent's Flagship alone is solid. It's just, when you put all the parts together, it needs like a 4th ship. It needs the Avenger. Maybe not the Avenger. But it needs something with a free action, an available action, to trigger Admiral Worf to give the Defiant its bonus attack. If you can get that, you've got this working. If you want to put a different captain on the Regent's Flagship, like Jonathan Archer, that could work. But Archer's a prize captain. I didn't want to go there. But I'm going to throw out different potentials here, since we're talking about how to make it work. If you want to start trying to improve this, the I.S.S. Defiant would definitely benefit from improved deflector screens. You certainly don't need Agony Booth in the build. Yellow Alert is not critical. there's ways to trim some fat, but a lot of this was set up to give you pure mirror. Because I think that it's interesting to say, hey, this is what a faction by itself can do. It doesn't always make for the most powerful builds, but sometimes it can make for the most interesting builds. Not from a competitive analytical standpoint, but from a playing out on the tabletop standpoint. Maybe it's me longing for some fun games. Anyways, I'm getting off topic, and that typically means that it's time to stop. So, let's talk more in the comments, and maybe get this build to a point where it deserves to be run by somebody. Let me know what you guys think. And until next time, we'll see you around the shipyard. Take care, guys.